For center number 5, you're going to be working on your OwlCrate presentation. The time that you have in class is not all of the time you need to spend on this. There should be some home time that needs to be worked on, especially in practicing your presentation. So I just put a couple of images of different OwlCrates that I've gotten. Just so you can get an idea of some of the items that you could choose to put in there. Again, you are not shopping for anything. These should be things that you could find around your house. If you find jewelry, maybe that has a heart on it that fits along with the theme, you could include that. Here, this is a crown that was included in one, bookmarks, magnetic bookmarks and made bookmarks just on paper. Every box usually has a pin and a bookmark, and then some other additional novelty items. So this one you can see has a mug. This one has tea. I've gotten candles. You could take something around your house and create a new label for it. Just be creative. This one has a notebook. So I left these pictures on the presentation. You can go through it at your leisure. But I want to show you the one that I made, and this is the one I presented to class last week. So the items that I included were a poem, a blackout poem that I put onto a postcard, a bookmark that relates to the theme, a pin that relates to characterization, and a ring that related to one of the conflicts. And my fifth item, which is not pictured here, was a set of knitting needles, and that also related to the conflict. So your job is to provide make a claim, which is that your book should be the one that moves forward in the final 4 bracket, and provide some textual evidence. Convince your class that your Middle Ages novel is the one that should move forward by unveiling your OwlCrate box. After both people in the challenge have presented, we'll do a little vote, and then the number 1 book for your class will move on to a final 4 challenge between all 4 of my classes. So your requirements are 5 items that represent your novel and an explanation of how that item ties to an element of literature. And you need to make sure you're using some specific evidence from the story. I should be able to open your book to this page and say, this is the part that you're referring to. I put some ideas down here, and you'll see them scattered throughout this presentation, but you can put anything in there you want. What I haven't talked about is a recipe. Maybe you can find a recipe online that you put on a note card that has something that your characters ate in your book. Okay, so you're going to be placed in a random bracket so that you're not going against somebody who's read the same book as you. And you will just unveil your box by pulling the items out and explaining details from the story. Think about some reasons that you liked your book. Was there a good, vivid description? Did you have a character that you really liked? It had a good plot twist, some exciting action. You liked how it connected to history. It had a good conflict. That the storyline was easy to follow. It had a good, strong theme. It had some intense action. It was suspenseful. You really could relate to your character or that the character was unique. It had a unique setting or conflict that you weren't expecting, a surprise ending, something that was unpredictable. Pick 5 ideas from your story that you liked, because the ones that you like are going to make it a little bit easier for you to convince your audience that that's why they should vote for your book. So at your station, you'll have a planning form that looks like this. This will be turned in when you present because on the back is the rubric. And this is a good practice for you before you set up your note cards. Each of these items should have maybe its own note card, and that'll be a good way for you to organize your presentation. So it has a place for you to include your item. And so here are some items. Again, this is just, I think throughout the presentation, I've shown you a couple of different ones that aren't listed here. Be creative. Here's where you'll put what element of the story it ties to. Is it about the setting, characterization? And again, you could talk about mood. There are lots of different elements from a story that you can include. And then this is going to be your specific detail or evidence from the book. Once you have this form completed, you can make note cards that you're going to use for your presentation. On the back is the rubric that I'll be using to grade you. As you present, I'll be keeping track of your items and if they were explained adequately using elements or evidence from the story. That's worth 15 points, and this will go as a formative grade. And then your presentation itself is going to be a summative. We just did a practice presentation, so thinking about what areas you needed to work on, you're going to focus on this one. Eye contact, volume, speed, inflection. Make sure you're not chewing gum when you present on this day. Your posture. One of the other things I added that I noticed people were doing were playing with their hair, playing with their t-shirt. And then an explanation of details beyond what's on your note card. So this is really you showing that you know your story very well, that you're not just reading everything off of your note card, that you can add some details as you go. Okay, so use your time wisely.